But most of the movements and most of the drum stuff that the early colonial drummers knew all came from England. And England actually started their drum music under the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. She was the daughter of Henry VIII. So it's like late 1550s, 1560s, somewhere in there, where she actually brought drummers from Switzerland to teach the drummers in the royal court. So that's how drumming came to England. And of course, over a couple hundred years, they developed their own systems and their own style. And that's what we adopted in America. When we first started the colonial army, they didn't have any beats of their own. They just totally ripped it off from the British. We were just playing the same stuff they were playing. But over time, the Americans did start to develop their own style and did start to develop their own rudiments. And probably the first rudiment that we believe is purely American is called the flam accent, which is triplets with a flam. And then about the 1860s, during the Civil War, another rudiment started to appear in American music which had never appeared anywhere else, and that was the flamacute. And nowadays, every drummer knows a rudiment called the Swiss triplet, right? The Swiss triplet is like it's a triplet with two rights and a left. You got a flam. Well, that's also not from Switzerland. That starts showing up around 1810 in America, although it wasn't called the Swiss triplet. It was just called a flam and a tube. So the flam and a tube was here for 200 years before we had the Swiss triplet. So those are really the only three rudiments that I can identify right now that are purely American. So with that in mind, I want to play a tune from the Civil War that would incorporate a flamacute, which we would not have heard before the Civil War. The Revolutionary War, there would have been no flamacutes. And it's a very famous song. I might use the music just so I don't forget it. Forget it. If I mess it up, only two people here will know. And this is a song that was really popular with the English, and the Americans adopted it later. And it's called The Downfall of Paris. American drum style between the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. Up till the Revolutionary War, the only book written that included the drum beats came from England. It was called The Young Drummer's Assistant. And in 1812, a Marine drum major named Charles S. Ashworth wrote the first camp duty with all music recorded for all branches of the U.S. military. And that was 1812, and that was used throughout the War of 1812. Then starting after that, several books started coming out. And around about 1819, there was an English drummer named Samuel L. Potter, and he wrote a camp duty book, but he made a significant change and has been with us ever since. And that was, he was the first guy to start writing the notation for the drum all on one line. Before that, they would have a line and they would have the left stick above the line, and the right stick below the line, or they would have them on a line with the left stick stems going up, the right stick stems going down. There were lots of variations. Several books were printed with absolutely no notation, completely narrative, because if you knew the lessons, if you knew the exercises, you could read, it would say play a paradiddle, 2 flams, and a 5-stroke roll. You didn't need sheet music. You knew you played a paradiddle, 2 flams, and a 5-stroke roll. So, but Potter said, hey, it's an atonal instrument. There's only one note. Let's put it all in one line. And I decided it's going to be the line C in bass clef. So that's what it was. And it's stuck with us ever since. Jack Pratt, John Pratt.